Alrighty, welcome back to the speeder bike build. I know I'm supposed to be getting back on the Jaguar. It's right over there. And I know that I need to be working on the Honda, the 750. You can see part of the wheel there. I've got the side of the tank all, well, almost painted. I got to do some more here. I've been working on this slowly. Again, painting where the decals weren't any good. But yeah, I'm slowly working on that. Here's what that's looking like so far. But anyways, I'll get back to the Honda later. I'll get back to the Jaguar later. I've just been having so much fun on the speeder bike that I haven't wanted to stop working on this. I've just been working on this thing for the past several days. And I just wanted to show you what I've been doing, show you how it's been going. So, if you haven't seen the first video, which was a few weeks ago on this, go back and watch the first video of the 1/4 scale speeder bike. It's based off of a 1/12 scale model kit, and I've just been making all the parts 3 times bigger, which is going to make it 1/4 scale. And so right now I'm in the process of making this piece 3 times bigger, and this is where I'm at so far. And right now, this is made up of 4 pieces right now. I've got a left and right side, I've got the front piece, and I've got the back piece here. And there's also some side pieces I've been working on. I'll show you those here in a second. So again, last video I left off with just this piece right here. And I'm just continuing with adding the details. For example, this back plate here. When you take a look at this, the back piece, you've got these 4 little pegs or 4 little posts that are sticking out. I'm not sure exactly, or I wasn't sure exactly what those are supposed to represent. So I went online, I did an image search for the speeder bike, and I looked at all the back end views of it. And most people interpret that as they look like exhaust pipes, which I'm sure that's not what it is. It's got to be some kind of a vent or some kind of exhaust. But they kind of look like exhaust pipes. Now, I realize this is a science fiction thing, so everybody who builds one of these is going to have their own interpretation. So I just looked at a bunch of different images and then kind of came up with my own interpretation and came up with this. So I've got the back cover plate screwed on. Those 2 screws here and here, they screw into the edge of this piece. We can kind of look at it like that. And yeah, there's a ton of JB Weld in here. That's kind of the theme for this build, screws and JB Weld. You know, it's screwed and glued together. And so I got that back plate, and then I've got this plate here, again, screwed here and here. And I put washers in between them just to kind of space that out a bit, just to give a little bit more perceived depth right in there. And then the 4 posts, I got aluminum tubing and then some brass tubing around it. So kind of like exhaust with some kind of a heat shield around it. I just thought that looked cool. I thought that looked nice. So that's what I went with. And again, it's all JB welded and epoxied in place. So there's the back piece. Now, the pieces that go right here, let me show you those here real quick. We'll just move from the back forward. The kit part looks like this. And it's really hard to tell exactly what that's supposed to look like. So again, I looked at images online, and there's a bunch of different ideas or representations, lots of different figures and drawings of what that could look like. And so again, I just looked at all of those, and then I came up with my own interpretation. Again, this is kind of like an artist's interpretation. It's not meant to be an exact replica. I never intended for this to be an exact replica. I just want it to look like a speeder bike. I want people to look at it and say, wow, that's a speeder bike. But I don't care if some of the measurements are off a little bit. I don't care if some of the details are off a little bit. So again, looking at multiple references, I came up with my own interpretation, and here's what I came up with. So this is the part that I made here. Aluminum plate. Most of my aluminum plate is 3 millimeters thick. And then this is that back detail there. Basically, this front part here is 3D printed. Now, that 3D print is not that thick. The front part is just, maybe that thick. And then I just have a thin end plate here that's just kind of glued in. That's fairly thin here. And just a thin piece of aluminum kind of rolled around it. Put a screw in it here and here. Of course, it's also glued. I just want to make sure none of that came apart. couple of countersunk screws in here that go into the 3D printed plastic. And I just put some brass, those pieces right in there. Somehow I ended up with a whole bunch of model train track parts. Probably part of a lot I got at a thrift shop or something. But these pieces here are actually connectors for track pieces. So I got two here, 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 and here. And then right here I just have some wire that I bent to put in there. I drilled some holes in here and put those in there. Painted the 3D printed parts flat black. Got some screw heads down in there. I don't know how well this is all going to show with my lighting and on the camera. But again, that's kind of just what I came up with, my interpretation, looking at several references. And I did not copy, I did not copy any one design. I just kind of made it up, look at some pictures, upstairs, came down to the garage and just put that in. I could have done it differently, I guess, but I like it. I'm happy with it. So obviously, two of those, and of course those will mount right back there. I still need to drill holes here and here to put some bolts, but that gets bolted in like that. And moving forward, looking at this detail right here, I made two of these. These are made out of two pieces of aluminum. I've got a piece that's probably, I don't know, 1 millimeter, 1.5 maybe. Yeah, 1.5 millimeter. And then that's a piece of the 3 millimeter. And I basically just cut out the shape. To get that arc along here, I actually used, I got a rotary table. Hold on, I'll show you what I used for that. This is a little 3-inch rotary table that I got at Harbor Freight probably, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And I've actually never used it. All I did, I mounted it to a bar of aluminum that I could put that in the vise, in my mill vise, and clamped that piece here to it and just turned that around to cut the arc around here, and then just filed the chamfer or the radius around that piece, and then I just JB welded it to that thinner piece here and drilled the holes there. I drilled the holes for, I believe this is an 080 bolt. So that'll go in with a washer. Let me get a washer on there. So I got an 080 bolt with a washer. And of course there will be 8 of those around that flange. And I drilled the matching holes into this piece. And so that'll just get bolted on all the way around like that. All the way around here. And again, that piece here is just JB welded to that piece. That's not coming off. That's a pretty good connection there. And moving forward, next up we have this detail right here. I haven't made that yet. I've got an idea of what I'm going to do for that. I went ahead and cut this piece and this, just to kind of draw on the back what I'm going to do. I'm going to just kind of file this to a shape like that. Yeah, I never claimed to be an artist. But yeah, something like that. I'll file that to a shape similar to that. And then I'll drill 3 holes in here. And then I'll take some of these bolts. And I'm going to take this to the lathe. And I'm going to turn that down so it's just about that thick. So basically just shaving off all of that. Just flatten that off on the lathe. And then that will go through those holes here. And then drill the matching holes here and just bolt it through here. And that'll give that detail that's right along here. Now on the other side, those holes go all the way through because there's 3 pipes that connect to there. So I'll just drill through that screw so I can connect my pipes onto that. And then those will be the details right here. So I still need to do that. And then we got the front plate right here. I just made that front plate yesterday. And that's this piece. Now, when I very first started doing this, like I said, I wasn't too concerned about exact dimensions. And when I laid this, when I laid all of these pieces out, I just eyeballed it 3 times. I basically just took this and I was like, there's 1, 2, 3, cut it off, that's good enough. I didn't really measure it. Well, I'm realizing that if I continue to do that, all of those little errors are going to compound, and then the final product is going to be all kind of wonky. So I finally measured this and then measured this and realized that the overall length of this was about 6 millimeters too short. So I took this piece, which is going to be, or which is the end cap, and I machined a lip around here to give me 6 millimeters. Look at that. Can't get much more perfect than that. But to give me 6 millimeter lip right there, and then this just slides in just like that. And I tell you, some of you know I posted a video a while ago. I just recently got a little mini mill from a thrift shop. You know, I paid, what was it, $240 for a $900 mini mill. And I have been using that thing like crazy with this project. And usually the way I machine parts, you know, and I have never claimed to be a professional machinist. Hopefully I do not come off as thinking I'm a professional machinist. I'm far from it. I'm very much just a beginner with machining stuff. And my typical way of machining parts is I would remove some material and then test fit it. Remove a little bit and test fit it. Remove a little bit and test fit it. And keep doing that until it fit. And if I overshot it, then I screwed up and I overshot it. This is the first time making this piece right here. And notice, that's a nice tight fit in there. And what I did was I measured all the inside dimensions here, and I actually used the number dial on the wheels to come down to the correct dimensions to machine all of that out, and it just fit perfect like first try. And for me, that was quite an achievement, because I don't normally, or I have never normally ran a machine like that. So this is the first time I've actually used and trusted the little dials on the wheels to create a part that came out as good as it did. Now notice the surface finish here is a little bit rougher than it is like here. And that's the difference between climb milling versus conventional milling. So, you know, I'm still trying to figure out things like that. I'm still trying to figure out all the best process, best technique, best feeds and speeds and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just very proud of this piece right here. And I know most of you are probably looking at that and thinking, well, that's not that big a deal. That's pretty simple. You know, what am I getting so, why am I bragging so highly about this? And like I said, for me, making this piece as good as I did, and again, not trying to brag, because I understand this is a simple piece. This is an easy piece. But I'm just trying to say that for me, this was a huge accomplishment to get this to fit in here as good as it does. But that gives me the 6 millimeters length here. It gives me a spot. This piece, by the way, this piece was 13 millimeters thick. So this is now 6. So there's 7 millimeters right along here. So I'm going to drill in and put a countersunk screw here. And on the bottom, I'll put a countersunk screw here, and then obviously one here. You will notice there's a gap. I could try to take off a little bit on that edge and on that edge to get rid of that little gap right in there. But right now, these edges, this edge and this edge, right now, those are perfectly flat and square and true. And I'm afraid if I tried to take that off to get it to line up with here, I'm afraid I would screw it up. So the plan is to do what I've done with just about everything else, and get in there. And once I get the screws in there, just go in and fill in that gap with some JB Weld. You can see here I filled in the screw heads here with JB Weld. Those are countersunk screws. I think they're 1032s in here. filled those in a JB Weld. All of those areas where these pieces got screwed in, I filled in those with JB Weld. So once this is all painted, you'll never see it. So I'm perfectly fine with fixing my mistakes with JB Weld. And, but yeah, anyways, you can see the holes there and there for those pieces. So this piece is almost done. Probably not going to show on the camera very well, but I also marked the point where I need to drill a hole here and here in order to mount these two pieces. So again, a hole gets drilled here. I need to thread that hole. So that'll get in there and bolted. And then same thing here. I need to thread that hole. So that'll go in here. How's that go? Like that, not like that. Like that, and bolted through. And yeah, so this is, I'm fairly pleased with how this is coming along so far. So this part here is almost done. Probably just a few more days and these pieces will be bolted on. Those details will be installed and this part will be pretty much done. And I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to make this. How do I make this 3 times bigger? And I've been thinking a lot about it and I've been going over several ideas. And the first thing I decided to do was go ahead and just 3D print a buck to the correct size. And that's this monstrosity. Let me see if I can get a another view of this. So here's that piece right here. And again, that's that piece 3 times bigger. And you'll notice the top is a little bit ugly. Normally when I print parts, I will do 2 layers on the bottom. I will do 3 perimeters and 2 or 3 layers on top with a 20% infill. With those settings, this would have taken about 60 hours to print total. Now this isn't 3 pieces. You can see a seam here and here. So I've got 1 piece here. This first part took about 12 hours to print. With my typical settings, this would have taken like 20 hours to print. The center piece here took about 10 hours to print. The back piece here took about 10 hours to print or so. But by making the bottom 1 layer and the top 1 layer and the perimeters 2 layers with a 10% infill, the printing time was like cut in half. So what I'm going to do with this, you know, I could use this to make patterns out of metal and form this out of metal. I did think about that. That was one of my first thoughts. But what I have decided to do is make this out of carbon fiber. I don't know if the Empire had access to carbon fiber, but I'm sure if they did, they would have used it. And so my next step for this piece is to sand this smooth, cover it in Bondo, you know, to make it all nice and pretty, paint it, polish it, wax it, and then put a layer of carbon fiber on it. Once that layer of carbon fiber is cured, I'll pop it off and then start supplying support on the inside to thicken it up and make it stiffer. Now I'm using carbon fiber for a couple of reasons. For one is because carbon fiber is cool, and I have some, so why not use it? But for the other reason, carbon fiber is a lot stiffer than fiberglass. So by making it out of carbon fiber, I can make it thinner to get the stiffness I want. If I make it out of fiberglass, I'd have to make it a lot thicker to get the stiffness that I want. But, so yeah, next step on this, sand it and Bondo, and then smooth it, paint it, and make my carbon fiber parts. So that'll be a different video. I'll do all of that in the next video probably. For now, I think I've rambled on plenty long enough. So what I'm going to do now is finalize this. The rest of this is fairly simple, fairly basic, just screwing things on and drilling some holes. And I still need to go around the edges with a file, you know, clean the sharp corners up a little bit. And then get this part done. Then I can focus on the carbon fiber body part. So anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to get back to work, and I'll get back to you guys in the next video with the continuation from this. So until next time, as always, thanks for watching.